from God of War 2018. So, first and foremost, before we start this, what is the most iconic image on this list? That is the real question. What is the most iconic item on these lists? And keep in mind, this was changed last minute from gaming's most iconic items to PlayStation's most iconic items. And I think some of these picks have been quite poor, are quite poor. So let's just get into this, okay? So let's start with items that could potentially make it into S tier. I think S tier items, I think without a shadow of a doubt, it has to go to Uka Uka. I think Uka Uka was the evil one from Crash Bandicoot 3. I think Uka Uka is an S tier item. I think that's an absolutely great shout. I can't remember who picked this. I want to say it was Discount Josh. But I think if you show anyone this mask and with no context asking what it is, I think they'll say Crash Bandicoot. I think Aku Aku is an absolutely wonderful shout. I think it is not just one of PlayStation's most iconic items. I think it is one of gaming's most iconic items. I think it was Discount Josh's best shout. Best shout. I think 7 or 8 people out of 10 would get that. 10 out of 10 if they've ever played a PlayStation game. I think they would know what that is, what game it represents, and all that sort of good stuff. They might not be able to tell you the name of it, but they would tell you it's from Crash Bandicoot. And I think that, by the very definition of this list, it makes it an S tier. Absolutely makes it an S tier. It is a great shout. Discount Josh, if you see this video later on YouTube, or if you watch the VOD, bloody good work, sir. You've done God's work here. Well done, well done. I would have picked Aku Aku, Bring a Shout. Which brings us on to our second. Let's just go through them in order. We're going to start with the beanie hat from Parappa the Rapper. Now, this one's tricky. So, Parappa the Rapper, moderately successful franchise for Sony. It was extremely popular in the PlayStation 1. It got one sequel and one spin-off in Jammer Lamy. Question is, would people, if you show them a picture of his beanie hat, would most people get it? I don't think they would. I think that most people would think you're just showing them a cartoon of a beanie hat. And this is where the trickiness is. If I showed them this picture right here, they go with Parappa the Rapper all day long. But Parappa the Rapper's face isn't part of his beanie hat. And this is a tricky one for me. So where does this go? Is it an A tier item? No. Because I think if you take away Parappa the Rapper's face, then most people won't know what it is. But I don't think it's a D tier item. I think it's middle of the road. I think it's probably a C tier item. Could creep into B. It all depends how this pans out. I'm going to put Crash Bandicoot as Parappa the Rapper's beanie hat as a provisional C tier. I think it's a good call, but without context, if you showed them this picture here, they would get it. If you take away Parappa the Rapper's face, I don't know if people would. Cardinal Smith picked this one, and he said, Parappa the Rapper's red beanie hat. I think if it was truly iconic, Cardinal Smith would have known that he wore an orange hat, not a red one. So, provisional C. I think it's a pretty good call. It was later on in the draft, so a lot of good stuff had already gone. A lot of terrible choices had already gone as well, but that's another story. Let's move on to Altair's Hidden Blade from the Assassin's Creed series. Now, another one of Discount Josh's. So the question is, Question is it a key part of the iconology of the Assassin's Creed series? Yes. Yes, it is. 100%. 100%. It's one of the most recognizable weapons in gaming. Is it an iconic PlayStation item? Now, Assassin's Creed 1 came out in 2007. PlayStation 3 also came out in 2007. I think most people wouldn't associate Altair's Hidden Blade, and Josh was very specific about this. He's like, I don't want the modern ones. I want the ones that they had to lose a finger. So, did most people play this on Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3? I played it on Xbox 360. I know all my friends played this on Xbox 360. Is it a bad call? Absolutely not. Is it an iconic PlayStation item? I don't think so. However, because it is probably the most iconic thing from Assassin's Creed, I'm putting it in B tier. I think it's a good call. I think it's a good call. It's not the weirdest call in this list, not by any stretch of imagination. I think it's a good, solid shout. I was tempted to put this in A tier, but I think the fact that most people would probably associate this with Xbox 360 sort of PlayStation list. Next up then is the wrench. The wrench from Bioshock. No. No, this was Tomahawk's pick. And if memory serves me right, this was his second or third pick. This wasn't a last-ditch attempt to get something iconic in there. He had picks after this, but he went with this one. In fact, I think Tomahawk went with this before the Leviathan axe, which is unconscionable in my book. Tomahawk is a man who hosts a weekly PlayStation podcast, the 11th best gaming podcast in the UK, according to FeedSpot. And he's went and chosen the wrench from Bioshock. I've asked him in private, what the fuck were you thinking, mate? He wasn't able to tell me. You think about all the iconography of Bioshock, and you could have chosen anything. You could have chosen the vending machines. You could have chosen the syringe that is used to inject yourself with the plasmids. You could have chosen a lighthouse, but Tomahawk went with the wrench. The wrench, Tomahawk. I know you'll see this. It's a dreadful call. I have played through Bioshock 3, maybe 4 times, and when he said that, I didn't even remember there was a wrench in Bioshock. I think if you show a picture of this item to a person on the street with zero context, they'll say that's a wrench. Or an adjustable spanner, as we say over here. I think if you said to them, what game's this from? I think most people would confuse this with a much better pick, and that is Gordon Freeman's crowbar. I think it would be a very specific type of person to show them this picture, and they would say, oh, that's the wrench from the opening half an hour of Bioshock. So for that reason, I think it's an absolutely atrocious pick. I think it's probably the worst pick of this draft. It is bonkers why Tomahawk thought this was a good idea. It's dreadful. He should hang his head in shame, and he probably should never appear in another video gaming podcast for as long as he exists. It's dreadful, absolutely dreadful. I'm only kidding, Tomahawk. All right, not about this being a dreadful pick. It absolutely was. It was the single worst pick in this draft. It belongs in D tier. There's nothing you can say to convince me to move it up the tier list. It's dreadful, dreadful, dreadful pick. Okay, next up is, I was going to say Squall. Cloud's Buster Blade. Cardinal Smith's pick, in case you need to know. I think it was Cardinal's first pick. I think it's a really good pick. I think if you showed a picture of Cloud's Buster Sword to most people, they wouldn't probably tell you what character it belongs to. They probably won't be able to tell you what game it belongs to. But I think they would say it's from Final Fantasy. And I think it's a really good pick. Is it the best pick he could have went with from Final Fantasy VII? Probably. That or a Chocobo, I think would be the 2 best picks. So is it iconic in PlayStation history? Absolutely it is. So I'm putting it on S tier, but I'm putting it behind Aku Aku because I think Aku Aku is instantly recognizable. Most people will tell you it's from Crash Bandicoot. I think both of those picks are really, really, really good. I think they're fantastic picks, in fact. Two of the best picks of this draft. Would I have picked them? Don't know. Don't know. But it is what it is. Cardinals picked it. Josh has picked them, but I think they're great, great, great shouts. Next up is another Tomahawk pick. I don't know what this man was thinking. He went with the DualSense controller. Now, before I rip into this one, is the DualSense a good controller? Absolutely, it is. It's a great controller, in fact. Is it iconic in PlayStation history? Not yet. Not yet, is my honest opinion on it. I think it's probably the best controller I have ever used. I love its features. I know Tomahawk tried to say about how it increases your immersion in the games, and it does. It's a really, really good point Tomahawk made. But I think if you're talking iconic controllers of the PlayStation's 30 years on the market, why you would go for the DualSense over the DualShock, no idea. No idea. The DualShock existed for what? Between 1997 and 2020? I mean, 23 years. The DualShock is probably the controller most people think of. I think if you show people a picture of the DualSense, they'll say, yeah, it's from PlayStation. There's no doubt about it. It has a lot of the DualShock DNA in it. I don't think it's an awful pick. I don't think it's as bad as the Wrench. Is it better than Parappa the Rapper's Beanie? Probably. Just for the fact if you showed a picture of a DualSense controller and said, what is this? I think they'll say it's a PlayStation controller, which instantly beats out Parappa the Rapper's hat without Parappa the Rapper's face in it. I think it's a better pick. This kind of cements Parappa the Rapper's hat as a C tier as well. I don't think it's going to be moving up, which is a shame. I really like Parappa the Rapper. Always have. Always support Parappa the Rapper games when they come out. Really enjoy them. Really good games. So next up is Green Materia. Green Materia. Cardinal Smith. What were you thinking, my friend? Good friend. Co-host. Friend. Green Materia. Absolutely dreadful choice. It's a green circle. It looks like one of those little crystal balls that David Bowie was playing with in Labyrinth movie. I think if you show people this picture, they'd probably think it's a negative of a globe. I don't know if anyone's going to say green materia. I think it's a really, really, really poor call. Is it as bad as Tomahawk's wrench from Bioshock? No, it's slightly better than that, but not by much. I mean, it's a pretty poor shout. Most people won't know what it is. I mean, I've played through Final Fantasy Original. I've played through Final Fantasy Remake. If you show me that picture, I don't know. I don't know. Cardinal again. What were you thinking, mate? There was way better. You should have went for Chocobo. I don't know why you didn't say Chocobo. Insane. Next up, the Holy Hand Grenade. Now, I grew up playing a lot of Worms. This is a choice I can wholeheartedly get behind. I think this is potentially Cardinal's second best shout of the entire podcast episode. I think this is great. As soon as they start talking about Worms, I was like, please don't say Banana Bomb, please don't say Sheep, please say Holy Hand Grenade. And he did not fail me. He said Holy Hand Grenade. I think, for me personally, I know Worms is available on PC. I know it's been available on PC since day one. Me personally, I played it on PlayStation. I've played pretty much every single Worms game on PlayStations. So for me, Worms is a PlayStation sort of game, I think it's a really good pick. Is it an S tier? No. I don't think most people would know what that is. I think they'd say, is it Holy Hand Grenade? I don't know. Is it from Monty Python? Yes, it is. Of course it is. But this is the Worms version. I think it's still a really solid shout. I'm going to give the Holy Hand Grenade, I'm going to give it a B tier, and I'm going to put it in front of Altair's Hidden Blade because I think it's, for me, it's distinctly more PlayStation. For some other people, it might not be PlayStation at all, but I think anyone who's played games, anyone who's played a Worms game knows exactly what that is. And Worms have been about 30 years now. 30 years. Most people played a Worms game because they were all insanely popular. They still are really popular games. So I think that it has to go B tier. I don't think it's A. I don't think it's A. Next up then is Josh's pick, which was Keyblade from Kingdom Hearts. Really, really, really solid pick. I really like this pick. It's better than Altair's Hidden Blade because, of course, Kingdom Hearts was for a long time a PlayStation exclusive franchise. PlayStation 2, PSP, PlayStation Vita, up until the 3DS sort of era, it was a PlayStation exclusive. The Keyblade is a really good shout. It is the most iconic image from Kingdom Hearts. This is me ranking your choices on the podcast, Tomahawk. You've missed some of it. I am going to put the Keyblade as an A tier choice. I think it's brilliant. I genuinely think that is a great shout. I think most people would know what it is just from looking at it. I think most people would probably not be able to name the game, like Tomahawk over here, who doesn't know how to name games. Can never remember the name of Kingdom Hearts. I think it's really solid. I think it's the most iconic image from Kingdom Hearts. I think it's the most iconic weapon in Kingdom Hearts. And I like the way Josh said, I want the plain one that you start the game with. It's genius. Genius. Brilliant pick. Brilliant pick. So yes, next up is a cut-off version. I don't know why it's cut these off, but it is what it is. Next up is the axe from God of War 2018. Tomahawk's pick. Tomahawk. What a shout, mate. What a shout, mate. Really, really, really good pick. Really good pick. I wouldn't have went for the Leviathan axe. I would have went for the Blades of Chaos. I think it's been in more games. It's been around 20 odd years now. I think when people think Kratos, they would think Blades of Chaos. Does this minimize how good a pick the Leviathan axe is? Absolutely not. God of War 2018 is the most popular, the best selling in the entire franchise, as far as I'm aware. I think most people now associate Kratos with Norse mythology, and I think Leviathan Axe is the iconic image from that game. Where does it go though? Where does it go though? I'm putting it A tier. I'm putting it A tier. So I am. And I'm putting it behind the Keyblade. Because I don't think if you showed people a picture of it, what is a generic looking axe with some Norse coda on it, I don't think most people would know it's from God of War. I think people who play games would know, but I don't think most people would know. So I'm putting it in A tier. Really good shout, like brilliant shout, but it's quite kind of generic looking at the same time. I would know exactly what it was. You would know exactly what it was. I mean, anyone watching this would probably know exactly what it was and probably scream at me, make it S tier. I don't think it is S tier. I think it's an A tier. I think it's really good. I think it's a really good pick. Well done, Tomahawk. Probably your best pick of the entire episode, to be fair to you. To be fair. Next up is another one of your picks, Tomahawk. I think it was you anyway. The Nitro boxes from Crash Bandicoot, which was also on my list, I believe. I went Nitro boxes because of the color, because of what they do. I'm pretty sure a lot of people watching this, a lot of people who listen to the podcast have died countless times to nitro boxes. I think TNT boxes, which I know you got a lot of crap about on the podcast. Why didn't you pick the TNT boxes? I don't think they're as iconic as the green. But I'm on your side in this one. I think the nitro boxes are way more iconic than TNT. They're distinct. I know the TNT boxes are different color, but it's a very slight change. TNT boxes were designed to trick you into thinking they were just boxes that may have had Wampa fruit or whatever it is. Nitro boxes made it very clear very early on you do not want to touch these because you will die. I'm pretty sure most people would have died to nitro boxes more than TNT boxes. I also think, yeah, after Aku Aku, it's probably the most iconic thing in the entire Crash Bandicoot series. Well, after Crash Bandicoot, obviously. So I am putting nitro boxes up here, and I'm putting it ahead of Cloud's Buster Sword as well. I like it. I like it. I think it's definitely your best pick, Tomahawk. 100% your best pick. Really, really, really good call. Next up, Pip-Boy. And I could go into a big spiel about how iconic this is, how it is so much in the lore now for Fallout. It's iconic. People will know what it is. Even non-gamers will know what this is, and they'll know the franchise it comes from because probably they've watched the TV show on Amazon Prime. Pip-Boy's a great one. My only problem with Pip-Boy is the same problem I have with Altair's Hidden Blade. Came out in 2007. PlayStation 5 wasn't out until, late 2007, am I right in saying? I think most people played Fallout 3 on Xbox 360. Is it better than Altair's Hidden Blade? Yes. Is it an iconic gaming image? Yes. Is it an iconic PlayStation item? Debatable. But I think it's better than the Holy Hand Grenade. I think it's better than Altair's Hidden Blade. I am putting it in A tier because I think it's that good. I think it's that good. I think it's a brilliant shout. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same, Tomahawk. I played 3 on the Xbox 360, New Vegas on Xbox 360. I don't think I've ever played a Fallout game on a PlayStation, you know. I played 1 and 2 on PC way back when. I don't think I've ever played a Fallout game on a PlayStation console. But I think that the Pip-Boy is such a good shout that it has to go A tier, right? It has to. Next up is the Plum Bob. And I think this was picked by Disccount Josh. It was Disccount Josh who picked the Plum Bob, right? And he put on a big song and dance about how if it's okay, if it's not allowed. Yeah, I would have pushed back on that one, to be honest. The Sims is one of the most casual sensations the PC has ever seen. Like when you talk Sims, you talk Nintendo Wii levels of casual appeal. And I'm not using casual as a derogatory term here. The word needs casual games. I think most people who've ever played The Sims have played it on a PC. The console versions, especially earlier console versions, when they were like weird facsimiles of the PC game, they were awful. They were awful. I don't think anyone seriously played a Sims game on a PS2. I don't think anyone seriously played a Sims game on PS3. Once they started just porting the PC version to console, PlayStation 4 era, that I could get behind. I think that's a dreadful shout. I think most people would know what it is. Would they know the name of it? Absolutely not. And would they associate it with PlayStation? Absolutely not. Is it more iconic than Green Materia? No. Would most people know, but more people would know what it is from a cursory glance with no context than Green Materia. Is it more iconic than Bioshock Wrench? I mean, I think absolutely anything is more iconic than the Bioshock Wrench. I'm giving the Plum Bob a D tier, and I'm putting it right smack between Green Materia and the Wrench. I think it's not as PlayStation. It's not a PlayStation item. It's a PC item. Um, I think more people will know what it is than either the green materia or the wrench, but it's just not. It's not a PlayStation game at all. I would never associate. No, man, it's a dreadful pick. I said it when I got it in the list. I think it's the worst pick of the entire draft. I don't know what you were thinking. Honest, genuinely, I don't know what you were thinking. So many things you could have went with in Bioshock. The lighthouse. You could have went with the syringe. You could have went with the vending machines. You could have went with the hacking mini game, the little screen, the little tube time. There's so many things you could have went with from Bioshock, but you went with the wrench. I genuinely forgot Bioshock had a wrench, and I've played through that game like 3 or 4 times. You could have went for the Big Daddy helmet, anything, anything. The big sign as you go in, the bathysphere. So many more iconic images from and items from Bioshock you could have went with, but for some reason you stuck with the wrench. Awful, awful, awful pick, my friend. Terrible pick. Next on the list is another one of Discount Josh's, and it's the portals from Portal. Not the gun, but portals themselves. I think it's a great shout. See, when he said it on the podcast and I was listening to it, I was like, yes, what a shout. I think it's infinitely more iconic than the portal gun. And I think Josh said it on the podcast. If you drew a blue circle and an orange circle, most people would know it's portals. Most people would know it's portals. It was such a mainstream success, not just on PC either. I did play Portal on the Xbox 360, but I played Portal 2 single player and co-op on the PlayStation 3. I think it's a really, really, really solid shout. Most people know it. Some people would associate with PlayStation. Is it like hardcore PlayStation iconography? No, it's not. But I am giving this a bloody good. Ooh, I'm giving it an A tier. And I'm putting it ahead of the Leviathan Axe and I'm putting it ahead of the Pip-Boy just because I think there's lots of people out there who would associate Portal with the PlayStation. So we're down to our last 4 items. We have the typewriter from Resident Evil. Is this... I associate Resident Evil with PlayStation. I played through Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1. I played through Resident Evil Director's Cut on the PlayStation 1. I played through Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, all on the PlayStation. I played through Gun Survivor 1, Gun Survivor 1 on the PlayStation. I played through any Resident Evil game that came out on PlayStation. I played through it. Is the typewriter an absolute iconic image from those games within the context of the games? Absolutely it is. It's brilliant. A great piece of using real life items in a gaming sense, and the only way to save a game in Resident Evil, I think, is a great shout. I think it's a great shout. My only issue with the typewriter is if you showed someone an image of it without context, they'll say it's a typewriter. I think you need to prompt them, what game is this from? Then they would say Resident Evil. Is it holy hand grenade level, or is it A or B tier? I think that's where I'm sort of leaning towards the typewriter. I really, really, really want to put it in the A tier. I'm probably going to put an A tier, but it's a provisional. It's a provisional A tier. I might change my mind on that one. I think it's a great shout. I think that was yours, Tomahawk, as well, mate. But I like it. The Iron Helm, then. The Dragon's Helm, is that what it's called? I don't know what this is called. Never played Skyrim. Tried to play it on PlayStation 3. Got the weird memory leak. Couldn't play it. Not my favourite game series of all time. Not my favourite developer of all time. Iron Helm, it was in every advert for yeah, is that what it's called? I mean, it's got a generic name. I think if you show most people this, they'll say Vikings. I know Skyrim is like a weird approximation of Norse, but they weren't Vikings because, as far as I'm aware, the Vikings never hunted dragons or anything like that. I think the Iron Helm, with context, what game is this from? They say Skyrim. I think without that context, they say Vikings. Is it a bad pick? Absolutely not. Is it as bad as the wrench, the plumb bob, or the green materia? Absolutely not. It's better than those. Is it more? I think it suffers from the same problem as Parappa the Rapper's beanie does. I think that without context, people just say whatever the real life item it is. In this case, a Viking helmet. I think if you give them more context, it's a video game, then they say Skyrim, which is exactly the same problem that Parappa the Rapper's beanie has. If you take away Parappa the Rapper's face, it's a beanie hat. So I think it's only fair it goes down to C tier. Not a bad shout. Could have been better. I think there's more things from Skyrim you probably could have went with. I don't know what. Never played it. Never will play it. No interest. Never appealed to me. Don't care. Next up, SOCOM pistol from Metal Gear Solid. Is this an iconic piece of PlayStation history? It's a tough one. It's a pistol with a laser sight. One, Snake uses it pretty much in every game. Definitely Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 1, or Metal Gear Solid 3. I can't remember. I don't believe so. I don't know. SOCOM pistol, I think looking at that image, instantly it's Solid Snake's gun. Or it's from Metal Gear Solid. You might not know the character's name, whatever it might be, blah, blah, blah. I think SOCOM is a good pick. I don't think it's terrible. I think this was Cardinal Smith. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tomahawk. I think this was Cardinal Smith's pick. I think this, it's a gun. It doesn't really look like any sort of real world guns, or somewhat. I don't think anyone's going to mistake that for a real life gun. I think most people go, is it from a movie? Is it from a game? Is it as good as Altair's Hidden Blade? Probably not. Is it as bad as the DualSense Prapper's helmet or the Iron Helm from Skyrim? I don't think so either. I think most people would probably hazard a guess it's from a movie or a game without any context, which is probably more than Parappa the Rapper's beanie and that Iron Helm. I am going to put SOCOM pistol as a B tier pick. A B tier pick. I might also move the DualSense controller as well. But lastly, the cardboard box from Metal Gear Solid. I think this is the item from Metal Gear Solid 1 all day long. I think it's either this or the suit that Snake wears is the two enduring images of that game. I don't know why Kojima decided to put in the cardboard box into this game at all. I have no idea, but it was funny, it was lighthearted, it became iconic, it is now a mainstay throughout that entire franchise. It's in 3, it's in 4, it's in 5, it's in 2, it's everywhere. Solid Snake and his box, I think, is a proper A tier pick. I think it's A tier pick. People will argue, but if you just get a picture of a cardboard box, no one's going to say Metal Gear Solid. That's probably true. However, I think if you give them a little bit more context, they'll instantly go Metal Gear Solid. And I think everyone would instantly say Metal Gear Solid. Now, the only thing I'm not happy with on this list is where I've put DualSense. So, I'll tell you why I put DualSense as a C tier pick, Tom, because it's only fair. I think this was your pick. I said that I think you picked the wrong controller. I think you should have went with the DualShock controller. DualShock controller was around for 4 generations. This is the DualSense's first generation. I don't think many people would know the name of this controller. I think a lot of people would still. I know still a lot of people still call this the DualShock 5, for example. I think if you showed it to anyone, even with no context, they would say that's a PlayStation controller, which I think means that I have to move it from C tier to B tier. Oh, no. Because I think it's more recognizable than Parappa's beanie and the Iron Helm from Skyrim. So this is the final tier list there. And this is what I think that the items that were chosen in that episode this is what I think they are then. So S tier items is Uka Uka or Aku, sorry. The Nitro box from Crash Bandicoot, the Buster Sword from Final Fantasy, and the Cardboard Box from Metal Gear Solid. They are the S tiers. A tier, Keyblade from Kingdom Hearts, the Portals from Portal, the Leviathan Axe from God of War 2018, the Pip-Boy from Fallout series, and the Typewriter from Metal Gear, from Resident Evil. Huh. Don't know about that one. That could still move. C B tier, Holy Hand Grenade, Altair's Hidden Blade, SOCOM Pistol, DualSense 5. And then C tier, Parappa's Beanie, and the Iron Helm. And then D tier, the worst of the worst, Green Materia, the Plumb Bob, and of course the now infamous, and part of High Scores High Stakes lore, something Tomahawk is never going to live down, but the wrench from Bioshock. Absolute dreadful pick, man. It is the worst pick of this draft. But that's it. The only thing I'm not happy with there is probably the Typewriter. I think there are so much better picks from Resident Evil they could have went with. I think Green Herb is a great shout. I think there's a lot more better. Now, I think that Typewriter is going to have to move down because the justification I had for putting it in B tier means it should have been C tier. So I'm going to move that down. But I'm going to put it ahead of the other two because given context, those three items make perfect sense. And yes, they are all somewhat iconic video game images as well. And all that good stuff. All that good stuff. But yeah, this is my tier list. So of the 18 items picked, yeah, 8 belong S or A tier, 4 in B tier, and then 6 in C and D tier, which is it's all right. It's all right. It is. It's not always a typewriter in Resident Evil. It is in the original trilogy for sure. It's not in Resident Evil 7. I don't believe it's in Resident Evil. Is it in Resident? It is in Resident Evil 8. If memory serves me correct. And I think it does. But yeah, it's not in every single game. Resident Evil 6, definitely not. Definitely not. Resident Evil 6 went to checkpoints. And a couple of other Resident Evil games don't use typewriters. But I think, show them a picture of the typewriter, people go, it's a typewriter. Say it's from a video game, I think most people say Resident Evil. I think it has the same issue as the other two in C tier. That is my final tier list for the last week's episode, which was iconic PlayStation gaming items. And I think it's a pretty good one.